Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to a brand new episode of Sadie and Shawn Have No Friends. Shawn, I'm just kind of getting used to your fidgeting over there. And again, if you haven't watched the YouTube channel, Shawn is the most fidgety and he does the weirdest fidgety things.
Well,
And
I
so
got some
it's
stuff on my hands.
okay. Do you
The
need a
backpack?
minute?
Well, I'm not sure. The backpack that I use. So what happened is I
Okay.
put my laptop and my mouse and the charger for my laptop in this backpack, and I also keep some Advil in there in case I get like a headache or something during the day, but it's the
Yeah.
liquid gels. And I think they might have got too hot and I think they all popped. And the
Oh,
liquid is now all over my mouse, which is now all over my hand.
is this going to
Hopefully it
bug
doesn't
you the
like
whole time? Do you want, because I
no,
could edit it out if you want to run to the
no,
bathroom.
I'm good. I'm not worried about the junk on my hand, that's fine. I'm more worried about it, like, seeping into my bloodstream and causing me to have a heart
Well,
attack.
Advil's not gonna do that.
You can
Advil's not that
overdose on Advil.
strong. Well, sure
Y
you can if you take, like, a bottle, not if what a couple of them pop in your bag and soak through your skin.
I did see that they have an Advil cream now, and so this is basically Advil cream.
Well, isn't that Cream?
Yeah, basically, yeah, but Advil has their own brand now, and they've been advertising the shit out
Ooh.
of it during the Olympics.
Ooh.
I think it was because people probably watched the Olympics and they're like, "I can do what these world-class athletes are doing, and I'll go try it," and then they need Advil cream. It was actually brilliant.
That's that's like the smartest marketing I've ever heard of. Because 'cause you're right. Because I would think they would play the Advil commercial with the cream because people watching the Olympics maybe are more likely to be athletic, but you're right, they're probably like, "Hell yes, I can skateboard break dance. Just get me a drink and I can totally do it."
I'm a little bit
Oh,
worried about this stuff, this gel that's on my hands. Because have you ever gotten, like, a jalapeno on you, and then you rub your eye or you go pee at the urinal and you get a little bit on your pee-pee?
yeah.
I don't know
I've
what
never had
Advil
that happen, but the eye thing, sure, I get that.
I don't know what happens if you get Advil on your pee-pee.
Let's see.
No, let's not.
I love that, I love that I actually had a friend's dad. Does everyone know somebody who has one of those stories where they touched a really spicy pepper and then touched their wang? Because I have a really good friend and her dad told that's like all I think about when I see him because he went to a restaurant and got like the hottest habanero ghost pepper that they had, and then he forgot, and because he was drinking and he went and he touched his wiener and it just inflamed. I mean, like the way he told it, I was like, whoa, whoa, okay, childbirth wasn't that bad, like
Whoa.
it sounded
I have to be
really
honest with
bad.
you. I've had that experience happen one time, and I kinda liked it. It
That is
was
weird.
maybe it wasn't that hot because I'm kind of a puss when it comes to hot. I like hot, but there's a limit for me, and if it goes over the limit, I hate every second of it, and I get real sweaty too when I eat hot things, so anyway, I just don't eat extremely hot things, but I like some spice. Anyway, so I it was probably just normal jalapeno, and I
Just
went
a little
pee.
bit, it's just enough heat to get a little tingle in your dingle.
Well, yeah, that's how I would describe it. So I freaked out at first because I was like, "Oh, no," and I started to get that tingly feeling, and I was like, "This is gonna be bad news. I've heard these horror stories about people who've touched their wieners after they've cut jalapenos, and I just did it." And I'm thinking, "Man, this is gonna be horrible." But the tingly feeling just stayed. It didn't ever get, like, bad. It wasn't it wasn't, like, comfortable, but it wasn't uncomfortable. I could
But if
see how
I'm
somebody might
alone on a
like it.
Saturday
I
night, I might
yeah,
go buy
right.
that brand.
No, I wouldn't, but I could see how somebody who's not me might like it. Like, if you put just a tiny bit of jalapeno dust in the lube, somebody might enjoy it, not me.
You know what? We are never gonna be able to market to families and children and old people because we always end up going back to wieners, and I'd like to apologize because that's not what we're about. It's a lot what we're about, but, I mean, I think everybody does have a pepper wiener story, and it's interesting that you bring it up, and it's interesting because I also hate hot things. And I feel like you're on either side of a fence. You're either on the side of the fence where you are like the hotter the better and you just want to like eat the hottest stuff, or you're a complete puss where I'm like mild buffalo wings. Oh geez, and that's where
Well,
I'm
that's
at. But
false though, because I just said I'm in the middle.
okay, so well, okay. So what would you consider wiener tingling heat?
I
Mild, medium, or hot?
I've never had well, the jalapeno tingled the wiener, but that I'm talking tongue tingling heat right now. I don't put hot things on my wiener to see how much I can take. So I can't speak to wiener tingling heat, but I can speak to tongue tingling heat. And for me, like if I go to a Mexican place,
Yeah.
usually they have like a mild, a medium, and a hot. I usually go for the medium, like when it
You
comes to the green
rebel.
chili. Yeah.
Okay.
And
What
that's
about that?
usually pretty good.
What about that? Every time I see clips of that show, I think is it called Hot Ones or
Yeah,
Hot
it's a
Takes or
brilliant idea.
something? Yeah, it's like he interviews people while they're eating wings, and the wings get hotter and hotter and hotter. And I every time I see a clip, I'm like, I don't even think I would go on the show because I'd be like, I literally
Yeah.
can't take hot stuff. And then B, I mean, like, I saw one where Conan O'Brien, I love Conan O'Brien, where he ate the hottest one, and he just kinda tried to zip through all of them and ate the hottest one, and it was like, oh my god, I think they had to call the medics over,
Yeah, it'll make
and
people sick. For
so
me, it
sick.
also makes me because I sweat so much when I eat hot stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
why. My dad does the same thing, but we like profusely sweat when we eat hot stuff. It makes me extremely cold too, like body temperature cold. And so if I eat something that's super hot, not only is my mouth hurt, but I feel like I'm done for the night because my body temperature drops so far that I have to just like cuddle in a blanket.
Do you ever hear yourself talk and think, "I am the weakest human being in the world?"
I eat it. I'm not like you, puss. I at least try.
Yeah, but then you have to wrap yourself in a thermal blanket for 2 days because you ate hot chicken wings, which you've never had before, but I love yeah, that's a really good show. That's a good
Yeah,
show.
it's a good one. This reminds me of this one guy, and I bet he still tells this joke to this day. When I worked at the bowling alley, there was this older guy. He was probably like 60s and 70s back then, and I feel like every 60 or 70-year-old dude has his stick, right? Like his little shtick that he tells everybody, whether it's a dad
Yeah.
joke or he's got candies in his pocket that he hands out, but they all have something. And this guy was a funny guy, and he would go around to all the dudes, and he would ask them if they've ever jacked off with Vicks. And I think he got one guy and he would tell
To
them
do it?
everybody of course would be like, "No, I haven't done that, you idiot." And no, I wouldn't do it. But I think he had this one naive guy and he got him to do it. And I hear that that is like a worse than childbirth experience.
We should have a contest. What's worse than childbirth? Because childbirth, I can't believe I did it 3 times. Childbirth is the definition of I didn't have a choice once I got on that train. And I remember my mom telling me when I was pregnant the first time with Sophie, she's like, well, you're on it now. Doesn't matter if you're scared or if you're not ready or if you're like, you're on a roller coaster and you can't get off till that baby comes out of your body. And that like tripped me up. Not enough to not have 2 more, but I mean, stuck with me for a very long time.
I would be scared.
But you say Vicks Vapor Rub on the wiener might be worse than that.
I've never tried it, nor will I ever try it. But yes, I hear that can be bad. That can be bad news.
Okay. Okay, so listen to this and tell me, am I being paranoid? Because I am often very paranoid. And so am I being in this situation? But um tonight is back to school night. I know you had that not too long ago,
We
but
ended up not
we have back.
going, but yes, we didn't go.
Oh, you did? Why didn't you go?
Well, Shannon found out that it was for the whole school, like, it wasn't just for his class. It was just like, we're all gonna meet in the gym, and they're gonna go over drop off and lunch and all the stuff that we kind of already know because 'cause
That
we've
you can
had
get
2
an
kids in school.
email?
Yeah, and so she's like,
Yeah.
"Let's not go," and she like Ryan is the person that you normally is like, "Yeah, we probably better go to this," and I'm the one that's like, "Do we have to?" And so when she was like, "Do you think we really should go?" I was like, "Absolutely not. No, we don't need to go. Yeah, you're right. Good idea." And so we didn't go.
See, I would have played the card differently. I would have gone like I would have played it this way. I mean, we should, yeah. But you don't think we should? You don't? Okay, well, if
No,
you
because
don't
then
think
that
we
would second
should,
guess her, and she would be like, "Yeah, you're right, we
damn it,
should
you're
go," and
right.
then I would
It's
probably chop off my own wiener for that.
it's like such quicksand, these relationships you gotta navigate through. Because yeah, I agree. I would be like, "You know what?" And especially during the time of year like fall, and I know there's like a fall festival at school and there's all this stuff, and I feel like that's when it's cold outside, and that's when I'm more apt to be like, skip it." And he doesn't ever wanna skip anything. So, but I think that's good by I'm kind of forced to go out and talk to people, and it's a disaster every time.
So did you go?
So, no, because it's tonight,
Oh,
but I love Murphy's teacher. I love her. She's wonderful. We've actually hung out before. I consider her a friend, and, she sent out like an email, and it was like, "Hey, I really, really, really need some parents to step up. It's kind of like a big project." And essentially what it is she needs shit stapled together. And I'm like, "Well, I can do that." So and she's I mean, it sounded like it in the email, she was pretty desperate for help. And so I'm like, I right away wrote back and I'm like, "Oh, I'll help you." And then she wrote me back and she's like, "We have enough people, but thank you." And it was just really like straight to the point. "We don't need your help. You're not invited to the stapling party." And
yeah,
I
I mean, if
wonder
I had
why. What
other
does
people
that
that were willing
mean?
to staple, I would probably draft you last as well. Just knowing you pretty well, I feel like your stapling skills might be lower on the totem pole than another mom who might be better at
Oh,
stapling.
shut up.
So
You
don't
know
take
what?
it
And that's
personally, it's okay. It not everybody can be good at everything, and I just I
are you
assume like
kidding?
your
Shut
teacher
up, Shawn.
probably does too, that you might not be good at that.
She's like, "I saw you staple." You did it completely wrong, you idiot. No, but it was just it was like really like, like and I'm like, "How do you have everyone? You just email to go." And I was
She
oddly
probably
enough
watches this podcast, and she's probably seen in every
well,
episode, or at
if
least
she does happen
95% of
upon
them,
this,
where you just kind of are telling me something, and all of a sudden you're like, what was I saying again? Forgot." And she probably assumes that you might do that while you're stapling, and it's an important stapling project that can't have that happen.
I didn't make the cut on the important stapling.
The good news is this wasn't like a dream job that was gonna pay a lot of money or anything like that, so
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you're not really missing
okay.
out on a whole lot. You're gonna be alright.
I have always volunteered at the I've always been a I used to volunteer a lot more, than I do now, but sometimes I think that the school that Murphy goes to, it's a very active parent community where they are able to have, like, a waiting list. You're on a waiting list to volunteer. Like, you have to jump on that. If you wanna show your kid love, you gotta jump on that shit because it fills up fast, and so you gotta jump on it. But one time I signed up for you know what, Shawn? Are they just giving me really dumb jobs? Because it was like they put me in the lunchroom during lunch, and I had to shit. I had to stand at the vegetable fruit bar and be like, "You gotta get one of each." That was my job. So you gotta get a vegetable and you gotta get a fruit. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, "This is dumb. Like, why am I doing this?" And then some kids would be like, "I don't want one." And I'd be like, "I don't give a shit. And keep moving along, buddy." Like, I'm not gonna hold you down and put some beans in your mouth. It's just nonsense. Anyway, I don't know why
You
I
did
don't get
that for
asked to
one day?
volunteer. Well, it was like during health, it was like super healthy week and fruits and veggies, and we need volunteers. And I'm like,
Oh.
whatever, I'll go into the class. And I don't know what that would entail. And I guess it entails me standing in the lunchroom and telling these little booger eaters to pick one, to
I
pick
actually
one.
think that
Why
that
can't
would
you
be
put a
good for you,
sign out?
Sadie. I think that that would be good for you, like on a daily basis. I feel like maybe you should consider volunteering at the school. Maybe it's in the lunchroom. Maybe you clean up the floor because the kids are really messy, or maybe you volunteer in the
Wait a
library
second.
and you put books back after they check them in. I think that that would be something that would be very good for you.
Are you telling me I should get a job at the school? I don't know. I don't think I would wanna do that. I don't think I could work with other people's children. I like kids, don't get me wrong, but I'm also not, like, a huge fan of, like, like, "Look at me, I made up a dance, cha-cha-cha-cha." Like, I have a hard time when it's my kid. I'm like, "Oh, here we go, we got another dance." But when it's somebody else's kid, I'm really just like, "Oh, I don't care." And that's
I do
hard
this
when you work with children, you have to be like, "That was a great dance," and I don't think I have that. I have a pick a fruit or a vegetable. That's the face I have for children.
I'm starting to learn the face I have for children too, because I've told you about this Wednesday night thing at church that I volunteer at, where we have these small groups at the end of the night, and so you get 30 minutes with your group of kids, and it's by grade and gender. So I have this year it's the 8th grade boys. You just follow this group up throughout until they graduate. So last year it was the 7th grade boys, and now I take on the 8th grade boys. But last year, the thing that I didn't tell you is there's other volunteers, of course, and in these small groups last year there was 4 adults that helped oversee this group, and there was one in particular that kind of led the group, and the other 3 of us
Mhm.
were there to just kind of keep the wheels on the tracks, and every once in a while we would interject with something. Well, this youth group thing started again 3 weeks ago. Last night was week number 3, and much to my surprise, the guy who led the group last year didn't show up. He's still now 3 weeks in has not
Oh.
showed up. He's not there anymore. And so
Has
guess
anyone
who has
contacted him, or
well,
is
you
he
don't have
alive?
to. Yeah, I'm sure that the church has probably contacted him. They
Oh,
contacted me and
no
asked
one
me if
has
I was
just told
coming
you.
back, and I just said yes, and he probably said no. And it's not like you're assigned this role where you're the leader. It's like you just
Yeah.
kinda take it on, and this guy just kinda took it on, and I joined his group later, so
Oh,
he
I
was
remember
already
that guy. You just kinda stayed by that guy because he did a
yeah,
bunch of
he
stuff,
did it
and you
all.
just kinda
He did it
stayed
all.
in that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I tell you all of that to say that he hasn't showed up this year. He's clearly at this point not coming back. And
Yeah.
so and then there's only one other adult in my group now. And the other adult in my group is he doesn't say a whole lot. And so he can't lead
Now
this group.
you're that guy? You're
Yeah,
the
so
leader guy.
I didn't wanna be, but you have 30 minutes with these kids, and the idea is to talk about whatever the message was and, like, talk, and the kids in 8th grade boys are not gonna lead their own group, so somebody has to lead it, and so, yes, by default, I've taken on the leader of this group role, and the first week, it was a train wreck because I didn't know, so I wasn't prepared, but now I get myself
Yeah.
prepared, and the last 2 weeks have been better, but you also kinda discover things about yourself when you're in a situation like that because there's 20 of these dudes. And like I've always kind of been the nice guy, but I've learned with these kids I'm no bullshit. And so
Like, do you finally get angry teachers? Like, I remember growing up, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, actually not that long ago because of the start of school, but it's like I look at some teachers and I'm like, "Oh, oh, I get it. I get that. I get that. I get that."
not
You
angry
just
all
hit
the
a
time,
wall.
teachers. I had angry teachers that were angry all the time. They were just mean folks. I'm not mean, but I also last night I told these kids I was like, dude, this is a choice to be here. I'm not your teacher. I'm not forcing you to go to school. You don't have to be here. So if you don't want to be here, then I'm just going to tell you, like in a really nice way, you can leave. Go home. Call your parents. Call your ride, whoever it is,
Ooh,
and
how assertive.
you're more than welcome to leave. And everybody stayed, and we had a really good group thing. But then, like 10 minutes before it was over, there was a couple of kids that clearly didn't want to be there and were getting antsy. And so I just very firmly, and it's just what came out of my mouth was like, hey, are you guys wanting to be a part of this group or are you leaving? I'm not going to warn you again. And they stopped for 2 or 3 more minutes. And then one who's kind of the clown, the leader of the clown group, just continued on. And I was just like, dude, go home. And he looked at me and he was just like surprised because the dude last year
Ooh.
had this thing called the penalty box where if they did this, he'd put them in this penalty box area where they just had to sit by themselves. And that to me feels like an elementary school thing. These kids are in 8th grade now. They're men. Most of them
Yeah.
are either going through puberty or have hit puberty. And like, I just don't have time for it really. And so I was like, go home. And he was like, what? Me? I was like,
Ooh.
yes, you need to go home. And he left. And I don't think that he'll come back next week. There was a
I
piece of
wouldn't
me
go
that felt
back.
guilty. I felt guilty for a second, but I'm like, the more I think about it, because I can't sleep at night anymore, stayed up all night thinking about this. And I was like, I think that was good. I think he's going to come back next week and he's going to have a little bit more respect because he knows I'll boot his ass.
Or he's gonna become an atheist and completely turn his back on our Lord and Savior. You never know with kids, it could go either way. I'm very impressed by that. Like yes, I think it's weird because it's hard to see yourself even, when you're in your late 30s or 40s. It's hard to see yourself sometimes as an adult. Sometimes I look around the room and I'm like, I'm not the adult. I'm not in charge of anybody. Why am I in charge? Which is probably why I got cut from the stapling project. But like one day you wake up and you're like, no, I have to be kind of that way, and you had to do it. You had to pull the card. And you didn't like it, did you? You were up all night, Shawn, you
Well,
poor
I was gonna be
sensitive
up all night
biscuit.
anyways. I could have thought about much dumber things. We could do a whole podcast on the shit that I stay awake and think about at night when I can't sleep. Because this brings us to a new issue, and maybe you can help me with this. I don't think I've brought this up on the podcast.
I don't think
We're
you have
now
either.
we're now going on 3 weeks. This will be 3 weeks where, for whatever reason, and I've never had this problem in my entire life, I fall asleep right away. Fall asleep every single night, bam,
Yeah.
asleep and asleep hard. And I wake up between midnight and 1 a.m. every single night, and I can't go back to sleep. And it's not a you know how you sometimes wake up and you're really tired and you toss and turn and it makes you angry because you're tired, but you for some
Yeah,
reason
you just
can't fall
can't
asleep.
get there.
No, that's not me. Like, I wake up and I'm energized. I'm ready to go. I have no tired in me. It's just like mind's going, feel like I could go run a marathon. And maybe that's what I should do. Maybe there's an expert that's listening and can give me some advice. Maybe when you feel that way, so I've thought maybe I should get up and go run on the treadmill and like burn off this energy, which seems counterintuitive though, because I still want to go to sleep. I just don't feel tired.
Yeah, and I
And I
feel like wouldn't that give you endorphins that would, like, pump you up
right.
even more? Okay, go
I'm worried
ahead.
about I'm worried about that. That's why I have not gotten up and done that. Can't turn on lights and read a book because I have a wife that sleeps in the bed next to me. Can't turn on the TV. I feel like it's disrespectful to even go on my phone because that lights up the room. And so I I just
You
lay
don't
there
know what to
and I think
do.
about dumb things. And like I
Nighttime
said, yeah,
l
I could talk about all the things that I think about, but they're really, really dumb. Last night was just this kid. I could replay my whole day in my head, and how could I have done this
Really?
differently?
Oh, Shawn, I think you did the right thing. Nighttime thinking is the worst time of thinking. And I have really years ago, I had to because it became such a thing for me, night thinking, because everything's worse at night. Everything's like, oh my God, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. None of this matters. I'm not going to remember anybody, and no one's going to remember me. And then you lay in this black hole and it just gets deeper and deeper, and I one night I was like, I can't, I got to stop doing this. And so I had read a book about, like, putting things in a compartment in your brain and just putting them away. Like, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to, like, make a conscious effort to not think about that anymore because there's nothing I can do right now. It's 1 in the morning. There's nothing I can do, and worrying's not going to do anything. And that really has helped, just kind of like thinking about and picturing like a box and putting that away in a closet and being like, no, you're
That
not, I'm
sounds
not
like a lot of work. In my mind, that's what I would be doing
thinking
all night.
about a box and putting
I
it
would
in.
be this is what I'll be thinking about tonight now. I'll be thinking about all the shit that I need to put in boxes and where those boxes are gonna go, and that's a lot of organization. That's gonna take me hours. And so I'll
Surely
do it
you
tonight, but it's kinda counterintuitive because I'm trying not to think, and now I'm thinking about this.
Okay, so let's do it like this. How about you don't even think about what the box is? It's just a box. It's a box where you put, like, a hamper, where you put all the messy shit away. and you put it in the box and you put it away. So it doesn't matter if it's a family issue, if it's a, some kid you got mad at, if it's a school issue because they won't let you staple. You just have to not think about it and say, I'm going to put that in the hamper box. I'm going to hide that. And then you'll probably fall back asleep easier. Have you tried drugs?
Yeah, remember, so in case you don't listen to all the episodes, I was not addicted, and I'm not saying that as like a person who was addicted and is trying to be like in denial. I was not addicted, but I
Isn't that
took
the first sign of being
yeah,
addicted?
it is. It really is. But I wasn't addicted. It was the problem was, and maybe I was addicted, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm jonesing, I'm shaking, I gotta have them. It was just like I felt like I needed them. For a year straight, I took Unisom pills, over the counter sleeping pills every single night because I thought that I needed to. And back then I didn't have problems sleeping. I just slept better when I had those. Like it was a
Mhm.
hard knockout sleep. And it was
Yeah.
so refreshing that I was like, that was nice. I'll do it again tomorrow. That was nice. I'll do it again the next night, until it was a year in. And I was like, man, why am I doing this? I don't even need these. I can sleep without them. And it's stupid to put them in my body. Plus, I felt kind of groggy the next day some days.
Mm.
And it was 100% those pills, and I feel so much more refreshed in the mornings. I can get up easier when I don't take them. So I cold turkey quit them and haven't taken them since at all, zero. And that's been I don't want somebody who's like analyzing what I'm saying and trying to give me help to think that it's because I quit taking these pills, because that was months and months and months ago, and I didn't have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep since I quit taking those. And
Okay.
so, sure, I could go back on that train, and I have, now that it's been 3 weeks straight where I can't stay
Are
asleep.
you worried that it's going to lose its potency, though, through the years if
No,
you
those
use
don't.
them?
Melatonin
How do
does.
they not? I don't
They don't.
understand that. That
I don't
drug
know.
doesn't.
Yeah,
What?
it's whatever's in that drug is just so good that it's just like, bam, it knocks your ass out. So anyway, I could,
Shawn, the
to
more
answer
you
your
talk,
question,
the more I think you are an addict indeed.
I quit taking those months and months ago. I'm not an addict. I don't take anything. And so
But
you
you
asked
have
me
to
if I've
start
tried
again.
drugs. I could go back to taking those. I'm not going to go back to taking those. I have thought about, that's a full-on drug. That's like a chemical that some dude made in a lab, I think.
Yeah.
Melatonin's
What
a
about
natural
yeah.
plant, and so is marijuana. Um, I've thought about maybe trying either one of those, like the sleepy time marijuana, maybe the melatonin in a smaller dose. But I don't want to fall back into that trap where it's just like, all right, I'm
You're
gonna pop
reliant?
another thing tonight
Yeah.
so that I can no, I just gotta fight through this somehow and get through it naturally.
I'm so torn on that because there's a part of me that's like, yeah, you should fight through it. And I think about this too, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a hangnail and my hand hurts. I'm going to take an Advil. And I think, you know what, Sadie, become a stronger person and less of a little bitch and don't take meds like that. But then on the other hand, I'm like, we live in a day and age where those things are available, to where, like, if my great 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 grandmother had a hangnail, she'd have to just deal with it and probably plow a field. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's like, you hear about people who gave birth generations ago, and it was like, get on the table, spread them, baby. And it was just like, bite down on this rag. And now, you got drugs, and I was one of the first people who did the laughing gas, the super, super mega laughing gas giving birth. Like, the hospital had just started offering that. And they were like, would you like to try it? And I always love I don't judge any other mother, but I'm like, yeah, like, set me up with that, because that's I don't understand people going in and being like, I don't want anything. I want to breathe through that. Like, that's great if you can do that, but why would you want to experience that pain? I've never understood that, and there's probably a very good reason for people to want to not use that, but I was like, "Oh, this hurts. I don't want it to hurt anymore." And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, when you have it available, why not use it, for sure, except for the fact that a lot of that stuff, and this is going to sound like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is the reason that our society deals with things like cancer and other
Yeah, I
drugs
agree.
and maybe skin problems, and the list goes on, you name it, insert disease here. And maybe those things don't exist. If I'm not saying it's because of Advil, I'm not saying that it's because of some sort of prescription drug, but maybe it is.
Well, you know what's funny is this morning Ryan had the Today Show on in the kitchen, while Murphy was getting ready and eating, and it was, I mean, the Today Show, it's 92% just drug commercials, and it was this lady, and she's bowling, and I think it was just for
I bet I'm her
something.
friend. Bet we're friends if she's a bowler. I know all the
She was
bowlers.
bowling, and she's, like, high-fiving her friends,
Does
and,
she have herpes?
I don't even remember what it was, probably like, "Do your eyes water too much?" And then
Mine
as
do. Please
she's
write down what that drug is.
I'm trying to get through this.
All the things
You
you're
do have
saying
a
are
problem.
pertaining to me, though. I have really watery eyes. I'm a bowler, and you're like dangling a carrot to get me to talk when you want me to shut up. So can you use different examples?
Okay, are you okay with anal leakage?
Yeah, I don't have that problem yet. So go ahead.
No, I'm saying, are you okay with having it or dry eyes? Which one are you gonna pick? Because you gotta pick. That's the other thing with
Oh, I see
drugs.
what you're
You
saying. If
always
you
have
get
to
rid of your watery eyes, now you have a watery butthole.
the water's gotta go somewhere. Shawn and I are no doctors, and again, I'm not even allowed to be on a stapling project at school, so I don't think you should ask us anything. But we must end today's episode, and we must take a minute to thank all of our wonderful sponsors, local businesses, Cristiana Salon Spa. If you want to go in and get your hair done, maybe it's time to freshen up. Just mention the podcast for 10% off, and they're located in Johnstown, Colorado. Also, we must thank Garage Door Service and Sales, because garage doors, they keep our home safe at night. And sometimes you wake up and your garage door's open and you left it open all night long and you think, oh, son of a. And then, because the kids come in and they won't even close it, and then you sleep all night. Well, Garage Door Service and Sales, they have the technology where it will send you a message saying, hey, dumbass, your kid left it open, and that someone could come in and touch your tools and stuff, and nobody wants that. So thanks to them as well. And that's it. Oh, hey, and I'm so excited for the show coming up on Monday, because it's our part of our interview series, and
Who is it? You haven't told me.
I haven't told you. Oh my
No,
gosh.
you told me we have an interview, but you have not told me who it is.
So somebody reached out to me actually about something that you said not too long ago on an episode. You said something about being old and not having sex. I don't even remember, but it sounds like something you would say, like
I
saggy
don't
balls or
think I said
something.
that.
No, you said something, because this woman wrote and she's like, I totally disagree with Shawn. I think you can have a thriving sex life. And she said, for example, my parents are in their 80s and they are part of a swinging community in their
Well, that's cool. And
80s.
if my parents are doing that when they're 80, I'm happy for them, but I also don't want to know about that.
Okay, well, congratulations. I do. And I got a list of questions ready,
So
because
what is this woman an expert in?
it's a man, FYI. It's a dude. And I just want to know about, because it's very secretive. I actually have to do like a pre-interview with him to kind of go over because it's a very secret lifestyle. People don't want it to be out there that they're doing
So
stuff.
he's going to talk about his parents being in a swingers club.
No, dum-dum. It's the actual swinger.
Oh, the swingers on.
We're
Okay,
talking to
I'm
the
in now. You got
80-year-old
okay. Yeah,
dad.
yeah, yeah. I like it now. If we were talking to
Uh,
the kid about his dad being a swinger, I would be
Ew.
out. I'm going to take that one off.
Ew. He's
Yeah.
like, you know what my dad's been into lately? No, no, no. It's not that. It's part of our interview series where we will be talking to an elderly swinger next week. So we'll see you then. And be sure to catch up this weekend if you're behind on any episodes. Thank you.